If I were starting a podcast from zero tomorrow, I wouldn't chase virality or try to break through. I'd focus on being useful, findable, and sticky. If I were starting over tomorrow, here's exactly how I would get to 1,000 downloads without burning out or posting everywhere. Let's get into it. Hello. Welcome back to As It Relates to Podcasting. My name is Simona Costantini, and today I am taking you through exactly how I would grow to 1,000 downloads in 2026 if I were starting from zero. I thought this podcast episode was a really important one because everyone wants to grow. Everyone wants to get in front of a brand new audience. But before we go any further, I will share with you that I do have my Podcast Success Vault community that is open for you to join. The link is in the episode notes below. This is a community of podcasters where we meet every single week for 3 weeks for an hour every single month, and we mastermind, we brainstorm, we dive into the nitty-gritty, and we dive into the challenges and the problems that you are facing as a creator and a podcaster and a business owner even, and find ways to fix all of the challenges that you are experiencing. And we do it together. We do it in community, so no one ever feels like they are alone. Again, the link for that is in the episode notes below. Please feel free to check it out. I would love to see you in there, and I would love to have you as part of our community. Okay, so today's topic is all about that 0 to 1,000 downloads in 2026. The first thing that I would like to do, and you know me, I like to bring things out into 3 different parts, but the first thing that I would do would be to pick a problem that people are actively and actually searching for. You want to choose a niche that has some pain in it and not just something that you are passionate about. Like there has to be something there that is bringing people to that specific topic because they're looking for a specific set of answers to the questions that they have. The reality is that people are always searching to solve their own problems and they may not necessarily care about your specific interests. It's kind of like, how does this podcast actually serve me? And what am I learning from it? And why is it important for me? You want to really think about the clearer that the pain is that you are solving, the easier that the growth is going to be. Because the truth is, if someone isn't actively frustrated by this specific topic, they're not going to look for it. They're not looking into it. They're not searching about it. The next thing that you want to do is you want to validate your topics in search bars and not just brainstorming through what you think people may want to listen to and may want to consume. When I'm prepping podcast episode content, I'm searching in ChatGPT, I'm searching in Perplexity, I'm searching in different AI tools, I'm searching on Google, I'm searching on podcast apps, and I'm also seeing what other creators are talking about, right? What is the relevance in the topic there too? I think it's really important. Think about your questions. The types of questions that people would be searching for eventually turn into your episode titles. So what are those specific questions that you can pop into Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube or Google or any of the AI platforms as well? Look for that repeated phrasing. Look for the things that people say over and over and over again, the words that are repeating, the things that people say that are consistently the same kind of over and over, because that makes it very clear on the demand. That is the demand. That is what people are asking for. That is what people are searching for. Now, of course, you can't always make 100 episodes on one specific question, but there are a lot of ways and a lot of angles that you can take one question and split it out into different types of content. So yes, we want to share all of the fun things and all of the creative things, but you really want to make sure that you are following what is showing up on search if you are using search to help you in your discoverability. And the other thing that's really cool too that you can pay attention to, if you start typing something into search and it starts to auto-complete your sentence, like finish your sentence for you, that's a green light. That's a really good thing because that's something that people are searching for and you are being recommended already, like here's the end of this sentence. So that could be a really cool episode for you to create. You want to also think about committing to answer the same type of questions on a weekly basis. Repetition builds authority faster than variety does. In 2025, towards the end of the year, I took about 4 months and all I did was talk about podcast launching. I got so specific into the podcast launching content and the videos performed so well. My channel has grown significantly. The numbers of subscribers has grown significantly. But most importantly, the number of watch time hours on my YouTube channel has grown significantly, which for me is a really exciting cue because I want that number to go up. I want people to be enjoying the content and watching it longer. And then that signals to the algorithm that this content is worth listening to. Listeners should know exactly what problem you are solving within the first 2 episodes that they are listening with you. And the reason why this is so important is because the algorithm is going to consistently reward that theme, that clarity. It knows exactly what you are talking about and it's placing you. These are the things that we want. This is what we're working towards, especially if you're a creator who's wanting to grow in 2026. The clarity in your message is so important. And it doesn't mean that you can't have a variety of guests. It doesn't mean that you can't have a variety of topics. It's not that you need to have all these different and fresh ideas, but reconstructing them, making them more clear and making them digestible for your audience is really important. So you can still have the creativity and you can still have the fun and the free flow and you can let your podcast be what it's going to be, but with a little bit of strategy, a little bit of intention, and a lot more clarity on what the show is about, who's it for, and why should they care. Now, the second part of this is something that I think is really cool. It's creating different bingeable entry points. New listeners to your podcast, they don't want to feel like they're behind. They don't want to feel like they have to catch up, right? They don't want to feel like they've missed a whole bunch of stuff, especially if you go to someone's podcast and there's a back catalog of like 300 episodes or 100 episodes or whatever it is. Having episodes that orientate your audience, that anchor them back into the content will reduce the drop off because people will come to your show, come to your channel, and they will see, yes, this is relevant for me. This is what I'm looking for. And I don't feel like I need to go back and listen to all of the episodes in order to get exactly the information that I need. This is where, and I talk about this a lot, the clarity over cleverness, being clear in your message versus trying to be clever. You want to make sure that you are being clear from the start so that people understand exactly what your content is for and who is it serving. Your episode should feel like an open door. It should feel like, hi, welcome back. I'm so happy to have you here, versus an inside joke that other people don't get or they don't understand, or if you're constantly referencing things that are irrelevant to the new listener. Like, you really want to make sure that your audience understands part of your journey, of course, but then you can always anchor them back into your content as you are sharing in your episodes. So for example, if you're brand new and you're listening to this for the very first time, I hope that you feel welcomed. I hope that you feel warmth in my voice. Like, I hope that you feel how grateful I am that you're listening to this. And also, I hope it's not overwhelming for you that you have to go back and you have to listen to episode 1 in order to make it make sense, right? That is never my intention. Like, I don't want people to feel like they have to go and play catch up. So I really want people to be able to pick up anywhere in the content, whatever episode that they see, whatever thing piques their interest or their curiosity, and go from there. The second part of creating these different entry points is referencing past episodes verbally. So you can say something like, oh, I broke this concept down in episode 5, or I talked about this specific concept in episode 30. You want to give listeners a path backwards. You want people to go and still listen to your back catalog, not because they have to go to catch up, but because they want to go so they can learn more. Your back catalog of episodes and your listens and your downloads from that is what compounds growth. And by doing this, you're helping your audience to binge your content, which is what we want, because then that's signaling to the algorithm that this content is worth listening to. The third thing that is really important here is keeping your intros tight and outcome focused. The very first 30 seconds of your podcast episode should answer the question, why should I stay? You don't need to get all personal and rambly and all of the things up at the top. You can put that in your actual episode. What we want to do from the beginning, what we want to do from the top is create that hook in so that people know exactly the problem that you are solving, and then you kind of can go into your podcast episode. You want to deliver on the promise of the value that you are creating for people, and you want to do that early, right? People don't have time. People are not going to sit and listen to a podcast episode that is not relevant for them, and they will bounce off immediately if the content doesn't align to them. Just to kind of summarize this and wrap this up, but if your intro doesn't clearly state the outcome, it's too long. And the last part of this that I think is very important, and a conversation that I think we're going to see a lot of, is prioritizing retention over reach. I think that this is really important because you want people to stay and listen to your episodes. You want them to complete as far down or as much of the podcast episode as they can. We all want to reach all of the people with our content. Absolutely. You want to grow, you want to have your growth, and you want to grow in downloads and all of the things. And I totally get that. And also, one of the ways in which we do that is through retention. So the first way we do this is having those really strong hooks in the first 30 seconds. You want to be clear and you want to name the problem immediately, and you want to speak directly to the listener's situation because you're automatically priming and framing in their mind and in their brain how your content is the solution to the challenge that they are having. The reality is if they're not staying, then nothing else really matters and the episode becomes not relevant to them and it starts to signal different things to the algorithm. So you really got to know, like, what is this episode about? Who's it for? Why should they care? And then also, how is this content answering questions that my audience has that you may not even know that they have? And the second piece here is your clear episode structure. So you want to make sure that you are telling your listeners what's coming. You want to prep them. You want to prime them. You want to use keywords that are going to move the conversation forward. And you want to make sure that the podcast episode is clear for them to understand, reduces the cognitive overload, and really thinking about the structure, right? The structure of the podcast episode. The structure is what is going to build trust with your audience. And the last thing that we want to do is ending your episodes with a reason for your listener to return. So sometimes I have some clients that do this. They'll tease the next episode at the end of the episode to create more excitement. You can invite a specific next action. So for me, it's join my podcast Success Vault community, or send me a message or a question, or let me know, how you feel about this content or what have you. You never want to end abruptly. Sometimes people will end their content with like, okay, thanks, bye. And then there's nothing for the audience to do next. The audience doesn't know what to do next. Do you want me to listen to another episode? Do you want me to meet you here next week? Do you want me to download something? Like, what do you want me to do? And so it doesn't have to be something that you spend all this time thinking about, but it is something that's really important to consider. I'll say something that's a little bit controversial, and I'll say it anyways. The fastest way to grow your podcast isn't to get more people in. It's actually to get fewer people out. What we want to do is we want to create a space where the content is clear, it's answering a specific set of questions, and your audience feels seen and heard and understood and supported and valued and cared for. That is so important in your podcasting journey. So if I were to go from 0 to 1,000 downloads in 2026, these are the things that I would be implementing. These are the things that I would be doing right off the bat. It's always about the value that you give, yes, and also the community and the relationship that you build with the person who is listening to your podcast episode. If this has been helpful for you, please let me know. Let me know in the comments below which part you loved the most. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. And of course, you can listen to any of the past episodes that we have on the podcast. We have so many. And with that, I will thank you so much for your time, and I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye for now.